Hey guys, Miata Man here. Today we're going to show you what's involved in removing a dashboard and swapping a dashboard out of a 1990 to 1997 Mazda MX5 Miata and Eunos Roadster. So this one we've already pulled it out of, and what I'm going to do is kind of walk you through the process on how I got it out and all the things that you need to do in order to get it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk over to the parts car here. I'm going to show you a few things that you need to know. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do is remove the radio bezel and the radio, which on this car has been removed already. So if the radio bezel was still on the car, you'd have the eyeball vents in place here and here. You have to pop those out to get to the two screws right here. Then there's clips holding the radio bezel in place here. So you want to get those out. You want to take the center console off. You've got a screw on each side here, another one on the other side right here, one in the center underneath the ashtray or cup holder if you still have one, and then you've got two more right inside the armrest. So you take that off, disconnect the power window plug if you have power windows, or the little plug here. If you don't have power windows, you still have that small one that we're zoomed in on right now. All that does is sends power to that little light that's in there, which a lot of them are burned out, but that's where that small wire goes, right to that little bulb that you can see down in there. So once you've removed the center console, the radio bezel, then you'll want to start popping off all of these clips. So you just go in the end with a little screwdriver, pop them off. In there, you have two 14mm bolts. You have the same on the other side, like that. And you've also got a similar setup on the sides here as well, just inside the door jamb. So pop them off again like that. Now these go on a certain way. You'll see the F for forward. That means when you put it back in, that arrow should be pointing towards the front of the car. Now in here, we got lots of fuzz, but we've also got 10mm. Let me just zoom in on that a bit better for you, if we can. There we go. So those are 10mm bolts. You've got two of those on each side. I'll pop the other one of these off here. Just slide it in and give it a twist. Away it goes. There you go. So on the edges, you've got 10mm bolts. On the middle, you've got two 14mm bolts. Those are the main things that hold this dashboard on. Now, this one is often forgotten about. Underneath that little square cap, you've got a 10mm bolt as well. And it's kind of tricky to get to, but if you use just a 10mm wrench, you should be able to get it off. It's not, you can't really get a socket in there very easily, so that would be the way to go. So you want to carefully pry this up so you don't make a mess of the dash. There we go. That's how it clicks on, so you know what it looks like. And then there's that 10mm that you need to take out right there. So there's not a lot of clearance between here and the windshield, so you need something quite skinny to get at that. Next thing you'll need to do is you'll need to remove the shroud for the gauges, the clamshell that goes around the steering column, and you need to take off the steering wheel as well as the combination switch. So all of that needs to come off in order to get the dash out after. Everything here is held on, so you've got mostly Phillips #2 screws. You've got two right here, one on each side of the steering column. There's one. The other one's on the opposite side over here. So take those out. Don't try and pull this off until you get the clamshell off, because you won't have room to pull it forward. When you take this off, you want to pull it directly to you, not tilt it up, just pull it straight towards you. You've got a much better chance of not breaking all of the clips that way. Okay, but you need to have this off first. So that has a series of Phillips #2 screws as well, right here. The airbag is held on with 10mm bolts at the back here. There should be 4 of them. There's a hole there and a hole there, and it's the same on the other side. Once you undo those, you can take out the airbag. Then you'll have access to the 21mm nut that holds the steering wheel on. And then from there, you can remove the combination switch here. That's the one with the lights and the wipers and all that stuff. That is held in place 2 different ways. There's a like a band clamp that holds it on. That's loosened by undoing the Phillips #2 screw that holds it together. And then there's a little clip that you have to pull up in order for it to slide off. Okay, so that is how you get started on this. And what I'm going to do now is go over to the other car that we've already taken it out of, and I'm going to show you some of the things you have to disconnect. So you will need to disconnect, well, you won't need to disconnect that one, obviously, but you'll need to disconnect this one. That's the blower motor that you're looking at right there. You'll need to disconnect this. You have to go under the car and disconnect, or under the dash, sorry, you'll have to disconnect all of the cables that come from the heater controls. So you should have 3 of those. These little clips here is what holds the cable firm and in place. That is one of the things that the cables hook onto. They've got little loops on the end. So you loop it onto that, clip it into here. The next one is, it kind of goes up over and it goes over to here. Okay, so that actuates this door here. Okay, so that hooks on there and then you clip it in there afterwards. This one here, I'll just show you real quick. It actuates that door in there. Okay, and then there's one more on the other side. Come around here. So it'll go in here and over to here. And that, here, that actuates them that way. Okay, so you have to undo those. I'll show you what it looks like on the back of the other dashboard in a minute. The other thing you have to do is disconnect all of the electrical connections that go up the steering column. So let me just see what we have. That there goes to the ignition switch, and the rest of these go to the combination switch for the signals and all of that stuff and the wipers. You have to disconnect your speedometer cable, and this is a great time to show you how to disconnect it. So all you have to do is push down there, and that's how it releases. Now you can just pull it right off. Okay, so from the side, just like that. Now sometimes, depending on the orientation, that is sometimes on the top and it's easy to get to. In this case, it was on the bottom and I had to use a hook tool to press that down right there. Okay, so just make sure you remember that you have to unclip it using that. Otherwise you're gonna break something. And then you'll be looking for a new speedometer cable. And those wires there were just some leftovers from some alarm system or something. So we're just gonna deactivate those and make sure everything's patched up properly. And that is what it looks like when it's out. So you get a pretty good look at what's going on. That's the 21mm nut that holds the steering wheel on. Now this wasn't an airbag car. This one's a 91 Canadian spec, so it does not have an airbag like a US one would. So some small differences in the steering column. Now the other thing you have to undo, there's a couple of bolts that hold the steering column to the dashboard. You have to undo those as well. So you can see them from the top there. Those have to come out. And I'm going to bring you around and show you. Actually, I'll show you on the other car here. Let's just take a look. See if I can get you under there. So the 2 bolts are right there. Right up in there. And there. So you've got 2 bolts under there that you have to undo in order to drop the steering column down, okay? All right, guys, so I'm going to show you. This is the dash that's going in. There's all of the connections for the gauges. So you have to unclip those in order to get those out. There's a little push on the top of each one. I've swapped the serial number plate over because we're doing a dash swap on this. So I drilled it out and then I re-riveted it onto this one. And you can see where it came off the old one here. And so we're going to need to swap over the lighter and also the heater controls. And this is the last thing that I want to explain to you real quick, is on these heater controls, you've got those cables I mentioned, right? So you've got that one, and then you've got 2 going towards the passenger side. So we'll flip this around real quick. So on the back side of this, just carefully lay this on its face here. So you've got this one here. So we're looking at the passenger side right now. And that one there will go around where I showed you earlier, and then you'll clip it in to the little clip. Same on this one, that's on the driver's side. And then there's another one in here somewhere. There it is. It goes up from here. It travels up and over. You can see it's clipped in there. And it travels up and over to where the blower motor is. So that's that one. So that's what that looks like there. The other thing I forgot to mention is that you have to take the glove compartment off, and that just goes on right there. It's got a couple of screws to hold it on. So there you go, guys. I hope that helps you out. If you're doing a dash swap, or if you've got to do a heater core or anything like that, that's going to help you out a lot. Please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I'll make more videos soon. Thanks.